Hey, George.
Hey, Nick.
Sorry to interrupt this episode of Reslayer's Take, but we have to tell the people about ButcherBox.
Oh, yeah. Listen, friends, we only do ads for sponsors we think are great, and ButcherBox is on our good list.
ButcherBox sent us each a customized box of high-quality meat, and they were so freaking good. It's so convenient having a box of incredible meat in your freezer without ever having to step foot in a grocery store.
And the greatest part? This antibiotic-free and humanely raised meat comes with plenty of curated tips and recipes. So whipping up awesome dinners is a cinch.
These prices are impossible to beat for the quality, and where the heck else can you get free protein for a whole dang year? Not the grocery store. So sign up at butcherbox.com/reslayer and get our special deal.
ButcherBox is offering our listeners a free for a year offer plus an additional $20 off. Choose chicken breast, salmon, or ground beef free in every order for a year. Sign up today at butcherbox.com/reslayer and use code RESLAYER to choose your free for a year offer, plus $20 off your first order.
Let's get grilling.
What's up, everybody? It's George from the Reslayer's Take. Hey, do you remember that feeling of your first critical hit? Or are you one of those people who are getting ready to start their first journey? I have a show for you. It's called Girls Who Don't D&D, because none of this all-female team of players had ever joined a D&D game before, or any other role-playing game. They go from learning which dice is what to challenging the gods themselves. They are surrounded by a beautiful and chaotic environment that has been described as a cross between Terry Pratchett's Discworld and Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and it's a world you can be a part of too. That's because their listeners perform pre-recorded sections that fit into each show. How cool is that? Those parts and the rest of the show sound amazing, with carefully added music and effects that bring a touch of the cinematic to your experience. I think the most amazing thing is that they were complete amateurs when they started, and you should really hear how far they've come. It really does make you feel like you're sitting at the table with them. You can join this group of unassuming Australians, otherwise known as the Girls Who Don't D&D, on any device that lets you stream podcasts. But I'm warning you, this one is addictive, heartwarming, and heartbreaking, and very, very funny. And I hope you enjoy. Bye-bye! Welcome to the Reslayer's Take. I'm George Primavera.
And I'm Nick Williams. You can listen to new episodes of the Reslayer's Take every Monday, anywhere you stream podcasts.
Or if you want to listen to the podcast 2 weeks early and uninterrupted by ads, join Beacon at beacon.tv.
Last but certainly not least, if you're enjoying the story, please consider leaving a rating and review. Your feedback might inspire someone new to join this adventure.
Now, without further ado,
enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another bonus episode of the Reslayer's Take. I'm George Primavera.
And I'm Nick Williams.
Today's episode is very special. We're going to be geeking out about the beautiful and mystified lore of Critical Role and how Reslayer's Take fits in it with the expert of experts. A historian, some would say. The Lore Keeper of Critical Role and Exandria, Dani Carr.
So awesome talking to Dani about the lore. I mean, just the sheer amount of lore that it has already been established for Exandria. I mean, she wouldn't tell us how many Google Docs pages,
how many
Google Doc pages she has, but she said it would break our brains, and I believe her.
When I saw her face talking about it, it became clear that I shouldn't know, lest I start
going mad.
Going mad.
Yeah,
exactly.
It was truly fun to talk to Dani about just kind of our little teeny tip of the iceberg of Exandria, because we obviously fit into a very small niche in the greater world, and they've explored multiple different massive continents at this point, and there's such a larger world.
Is the moon a continent?
It could be. It could be. It could be considered a continent.
It's similar, right?
And I do think that it is. I mean, it's just so awesome. We had our little area, and to talk to somebody who knows about all of it is just a joy. But anyway, we get into all this on this episode, so keep listening and enjoy our conversation with Dani Carr.
Yes. With the planning, recording, and editing that go into the Reslayer's Take, Nick and I aren't left with a lot of time for exercise.
Luckily, our sponsor, Tonal, has helped us use the time we actually have to create personalized workouts just for us. Tonal learns from your movement and provides suggested weight recommendations for every move, and they even give you detailed reports on your progress.
They create personalized programs and workout suggestions based on your individual goals. Like me, I want the rogue-like agility to backflip over dungeon traps.
And I want the berserker strength to hold a heavy door up for my friends so they can escape the undead hordes thanks to my heroic sacrifice. With Tonal, you can do it all. It's like having a personal trainer at home with you.
Unlike traditional gym equipment, Tonal uses adaptive digital weight to advance your training techniques.
Whether you're a professional athlete or a cake-loving dungeon master like us, Tonal can be trusted to help you become your strongest, most fit self.
Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code RESLAYER. That's Tonal.com and use promo code RESLAYER for $200 off your purchase.
Tonal.com, promo code RESLAYER for $200 off.
Let's roll those athletics checks.
Creating really great retail experiences is tough, especially with multiple stores, teams of staff, fulfillment centers, separate workflows. It's a lot. But with Shopify Point of Sale, you can do it all without complexity.
Shopify's point of sale system is a unified command center for your retail business. It brings together in-store and online operations even across 1,000 locations.
Imagine being able to guarantee that shopping is always convenient. Endless aisle, ship to customer, buy online, pick up in stores, all made simpler so customers can shop how and where they want and staff have the tools they need to close the sale every time.
And let's face it, acquiring new customers is expensive. With Shopify POS, you can keep existing shoppers coming back to your stores with consistent, tailored experiences and first-party data that give marketing teams a competitive edge.
Want more?
Yeah!
Check it out at shopify.com/r/ all lowercase and learn how to create the best retail experiences without complexity.
That's shopify.com/r/.
Cha-ching!
Hello, Halflings! George Primavera here to tell you about Three Black Halflings, a conversational comedy podcast hosted by Jasper Cartwright, Olivia Kennedy, and Jeremy Cobb. Three nerdy friends with strong opinions and even stronger charisma scores. Having grown up in different corners of the world, they bring a diverse range of perspectives as they talk about their experiences as people of color in pop culture fandoms, D&D, and the TTRPG community. Born of a love of all things nerdy, all three of them share personal and often hilarious stories, challenge typical fantasy tropes, and tackle diversifying fantasy, all whilst discussing the things they love. From Lord of the Rings to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, playing your first tabletop role-playing game, or advice for seasoned adventurers, there's something for everyone. They've brought on an array of guests from all around the roleplay community and beyond, including Christina Ariel, Brennan Lee Mulligan, Jake Hurwitz, Lou Wilson, and many more. The list goes on and on. Join them in their quest to explore diversity in the incredible worlds of D&D and pop culture through thought-provoking conversations and good times. Subscribe to Three Black Halflings on Apple, Spotify, Pocket Casts, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every Monday and Thursday. So long, Shire folk!
Hello, everyone. We're back to the show. I'm Nick Williams, and I'm here with my co-GM, George Primavera.
Hello!
And today we're talking to the person with the coolest job title in the world, Critical Role's Lore Keeper Dani Carr.
Hi, Dani!
Hi!
Oh, we're so excited to have you and get into the nitty-gritty of Exandria and some Reslayer's Take stuff.
Yes, yeah. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I am so excited to just get to geek out about Exandria and all of its intricacies.
The dream. And
Same.
it's also your job to geek out about it. How amazing is that?
It is. I really love it. It's one of those things where I have the worst time trying to explain what I do unless people kind of already understand it. Otherwise, I'm just like, I'm a fantasy historian.
God, that's so cool, though. I mean, I also have a hard time explaining what I do, and it's way less cool. Like, you can't boil it down to fantasy historian, the coolest title.
If somebody told me they were a fantasy historian at a party, I would put my beverage down and say, explain.
Yes, that's all I want to talk about for the next 6 hours. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, speaking from our personal experience, there is such a vast well of lore to Exandria.
Yes.
I mean, it's just so much to keep track of, even in our tiny, tiny corner, in
A little swath.
our teeny swath in Reslayer's Take that we cover. What's it like just having to keep track of that much dense material all the time?
Difficult,
Yeah.
but it is extremely rewarding, and I'm lucky in that I now have an amazing junior lore keeper, Jared Darrow, who has been working on a lot of things that we can use internally to assist us with keeping track of everything, because so far it's just me and Google Docs against the rest of the
How
world.
many pages is that Google Doc?
Don't ask questions about things you don't want to know the answer
Oh God,
to.
will the number break my brain like an eldritch secret?
Yes, my secret is that I am an eldritch abomination.
Yeah, that's right. Our brains wouldn't understand if we saw it.
We're here with Aberration, Dani Carr.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, even just trying to keep track. I mean, like, we went into recording being like, we've got this locked in. It's not that much to keep track of. We have it. And then, like, someone around the table would throw something at us and we'd be like, I have no idea what that means. Like,
Yeah, the hubris we had.
Yeah, just too cocky.
Thinking, we've got this, we did our research, we know what's going on, and then, like, there's so much to this world. I mean, like, it's one of the most...
It's dense.
Yeah, fleshed out.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not even just... It's the amount of just tiny things and little details and little alleys and avenues, and the amount of other creators that we've had that have fleshed out the world, including you two and including your wonderful cast, have made Exandria so alive. Matt talks all the time about how much Exandria is not just him, but is this beautiful collaboration between the cast of Critical Role and also the all of the different creators that we bring in, people like the two of you and Brendan Lee Mulligan and Abria Iyengar, and then all of our writers and our artists who come in and add more and bring more to life. And it's become this incredibly beautiful just tapestry of a world, and every single thread and every single line means something. And that's the thing that I really try to focus on, is to make sure that when we add more, the picture gets filled out but doesn't get warbled. Or warbled's a word, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an evocative one. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Or messed up or snagged, and that it can just continue to grow and be this incredibly beautiful just tapestry and mosaic of art that we all can make together.
Yeah.
What a crazy thing to canonize improvisation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, every line has to, like, mean something and has implications for things going forward based on their backstory.
And even if it doesn't mean something now, it might mean something later.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even, when, like, just a tiny peek behind the curtain, we've been working on this project for a while.
Yeah.
And concurrent with everything going on the main show. And so as we've been working on it, more and more things have been unveiled that we're like, oh my God, we had no idea that was going on with Aor or what, all these incredible things. So it really does feel like a living document. It feels like it's constantly changing all the time. And it's like this incredible living organism that is like evolving always. And we've had such a fun time kind of edging into that little space where, we talk about this a lot, where it's only possible to do what we have done with and are doing with Reslayer's Take, having a world, when you have a world like Exandria that is so fleshed out and so real that you can be like, great, I'm going to make this small story, and inherently it will fit into a larger context because there's so much on the grand scale.
Yeah. And that's the thing that we really strive for, is making sure that it is consistent, because the consistency is what makes it clear that this is a living, breathing place. Yeah. If we constantly change things, or things don't mesh the same way that they do in other places, and obviously there's wiggle room, but if we lose track of all of the threads, then it doesn't become something that makes sense, and it becomes more ephemeral and more ethereal and that sort of thing. Yeah. So you guys have done an amazing job of taking the lore ball and running with it.
Oh, thank you. That's the highest compliment ever.
Truly.
Honestly, it's been so fantastic. I have always, every time I've listened to an episode, I've just been like, yeah, nope, they nailed it. It's great. It's been so... It's been so fun to listen and to hear you, especially flesh out Issylra, which is, a continent that we haven't seen a whole lot of. We don't have a big map of Issylra. We don't in canon. It is some place that has not been fully explored by the people of Exandria. So there are places that even like the people who live there don't know what's like beyond certain mountains and things like that. So but even then, the places that we've seen on stream is not the entirety of that continent. And so to hear you guys come in and be able to say, well, here's also these other places, and here's the stories that are going on there, and here's how the world sees everything else. Like you bring in like, oh, well, I loved that y'all brought in Rhymefang. And the Reslayers Take got to go in and fight the bones of Rhymefang, and Hira got to see her hellish rebuke scarring on the walls and everything. And that was great because that connected with her character as someone who has that same magic. And to see, something I can do is what took down this dragon. It allows the world to feel lived in and resonate with your players as well. And I love that.
I have a fun, silly little Easter egg, too, for the Rhymefang resurrection. When Rhymefang's bones start to animate, we see flame, like spectral-looking flame, appear and fill the eye sockets, and that is a reference to the fact that Rhymefang was defeated with a hellish rebuke fire spell.
I love that.
And it's sort of in reverse, where it, undoes the damage to create, this living spectral Rhymefang.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool.
We definitely, so much fun. I think our goal from the beginning was to create, the main Critical Role show gets to such an amazing macro level of these epic god battles, and everything gets so big. And our goal from the beginning was we want to do a local story. We wanted everything, every town we create or every story is so localized. We're doing the little question marks on the video game map that you're seeing and being my crops are being burned. Let's deal with that. And the Rhymefang one was really fun for us because it got to, we knew that we would kind of really stretch in those kind of unexplored spaces after that. But we wanted to kick it off with a real anchor into the world that Critical Role fans would recognize as we're in the same place. This is definitely the same spot that Vox Machina slayed Rhymefang, and that was really fun for us to mess around with that.
It's great to have those moments of planting yourself in the world and then letting yourself go further out. I love that you started there with Rhymefang, and then not with Rhymefang, but with the Slayer's Take, and then we're able to spread out into Joscrin's Village, and which loved everything with that and Dominic Monaghan. His bard was so great. Janet, amazing.
Janet is just the best character ever created. I love Janet so much.
I'm curious, were the instruments that were chosen for each of the players, were those spur of the moment, or
I think entirely Dominic's choice?
Really?
No, I think they were the player. We told the players any instrument you can think of exists in this room.
That's right.
And so, Frog obviously had her guitar moment in the first episode.
Yes.
Her first moment in the show is seeing a guitar and not knowing what it is. So that's this wonderful full circle moment for her where she gets to play a guitar. But we literally said, any instrument exists here, go for it. And it spurns these really crazy choices. I know Jasmine Chiong literally was I don't want to make any performance checks, so I'm just going to pick crash cymbals because I know I can just hit them together. And we're that's true. You don't have to do anything with that.
And it was perfect for her character because she's the point is to make noise. I'm not trying, not that cymbals can't be incredibly musical, but
it's not an art form for me.
She's I'm going to make noise.
Zero creative expression.
Yes.
As an orchestral percussionist for many years, cymbals require no skill.
He said it wasn't me.
I said it. I have experience. Trust me, it's easy.
Yeah, but I think that was just a great moment where we really let the players go to town on that. What was the insane Idrin instrument choice.
Oh, the sackbut, which is like a very, silly sounding horn.
Yes.
Which kind of interestingly, like, how we asked the players like to pick whatever instrument they wanted. Then we had like another horn option, which was directly from Hira's backstory.
Yes.
And that was her. That was something we didn't even know about at the time.
It was like an equipment that you can take when you choose a background in Dungeons and Dragons. You can choose a musical instrument. So she picked like a family heirloom horn, and it became. I think from that moment, we took and ran with that quite a bit. We saw in episode 8, this horn clearly has like a lot of emotional, mental weight for her.
Yeah, that's actually episode 8. I really loved. That's the one where they're fighting their reflections of
the Aboleth
of themselves.
reflection is feeding them false visions.
The Nightmare Trial episode.
The Nightmare Trial.
Yeah, I loved all of that because it's such a great way to look inwards with your characters and have them see like their own inner demons almost. We've even had something similar with other characters in Critical Role have had those moments. Like we saw it in Legend of Vox Machina where they also had to listen to their own insecurities and fight these versions of their demons. And then even recently we've had it with Fern having to fight a mirror version of herself that's this darkness.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten to see it, and I love that we've kind of brought that in here. That you've brought that in here to really show us who these characters are and what matters to them, and how easily or not easily they penetrate through that wall. Like some characters had a little bit of an easier time with it, some didn't, and it was really fascinating to be able to really hear your actors and you guys be able to all coordinate that story together. It felt like a dance.
Oh,
yeah!
That's such a
Thank
good
you
way
very
to
much.
phrase it. Yeah,
we love that the kind of like introspective vision thing is like such a fun tool for a DM or GM because it really forces, especially like more reluctant to role play players into these kind of moments where they are directly confronting their backstory and having to really express how they feel about it in a really interesting way.
And our players for this are anything but reluctant to roleplay, so it's just like a playground for them. They can really make some big choices.
Well, and with that, like, speaking of the horn moment, like that really came, we had a whole different plan, I think, for Hira's vision.
It entirely
and she came, in that moment with Janet. I mean, that's like a masterclass in, Bronze is incredible at playing, and a great GM in her own right. And that's a masterclass in like, here's like a random piece of equipment that when you take it in the beginning, you probably won't ever touch it again. I almost never touch 10 feet of hempen rope, but I have it. And, she took the fact that she has a horn and made it this rich backstory piece. And it really evolved as we were playing, and we had a whole different idea for her vision, and it became the cornerstone of her backstory and kind of her internal struggle with her family. And that's a great example of a gift given by a player that gets like incredibly incorporated by working with them at the table.
And in another sense, what you were saying about like this all being a living, breathing organism.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's living, breathing while we're playing it. Nick and I make obviously like a very extensive and detailed plan with lots of contingencies and what happens if the players choose something weird here. But sometimes we just get thrown a total curveball that spikes an idea that we had because of how brilliant it is. Like we're getting rid of what we had and we're gonna build off of this. The
horn
now.
is incredible. Yeah, it's such a brilliant
Players have
idea.
a really amazing ability when they like jump into stuff like that to craft the story along with the GM.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is most important whenever you are trying to build a world that has so much lore and trying to add your own into it, is listening to your players.
Yes.
And allowing them to create it with you and to weave with you.
Yeah.
It isn't just... obviously, the work that you both do is incredible and vast and deep, but they are building the story with you. Yes. And I think that is something that we here at Critical Role really strive to make sure is, I don't want to use the word consistent again because I use that a lot. And it's not really about consistency, but is at least the heart of what we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's cohesive altogether.
Yes, cohesive. That's a much better word.
It also just roots them emotionally in these revelations that happen.
Yeah.
Matt is able to, especially especially like with Bell's Hells and all of these like revelations they keep receiving that rock their world. It's because they probably created this amazing detailed backstory that Matt, like a puppet master, gets to kind of pull the string on to pull an emotion. Yeah.
There is a reason that the first episode of Campaign 3 is called The Draw of Destiny.
Oh! Oh! Yeah! Yes! Love that. Love a good episode name.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention that I really love the fact that almost every PC y'all have has a connection that makes them entirely Exandrian.
Yeah.
Like, I love that Frog is specifically an Aormaton. I love that Fira is Blood Hunter.
Yeah.
And I love that Idrin is a chronergy maid, chronergy wizard. I know
It's a
how
mouthful.
to speak. There's all of these different things. Oh, and Frog's also from Cobalt Soul.
Yeah.
Yes,
And so
Cobalt Soul monk.
they all have these like really innate things that make them part of that fabric. You can't just plop them down really anywhere else and have their story be the same. And I really love that was woven in. Was that something that you guys wanted to have on purpose, or was that just sort of a kismet of working with players?
Sort of a blend.
Yeah, we definitely, when we first sat down with the players, we encouraged them to ground themselves in the world when they were creating their backstories and everything. And everyone kind of just inherently leaned towards these incredibly rich subclasses that were created by Critical Role that are just the best. I mean, and it really informs their characters. And even, Bronze, Hira's character, she had a hand in Marquette's creation. And so when she came, she really brought a ton of Marquette to Hira. Or to Hira. So it really made it... even though she kind of went more classic roguey, her character is so richly Marquette focused that it really, everybody is truly an Exandria-specific character.
And also, like, just the element of, like, Frog being an Aormaton was actually sort of, like, kind of an accident. I believe Caroline had expressed interest in playing, like a Warforged character, and, like, what would that be like? And we shot that to Matt being like, what is that like?
And it was before...
It was before we really knew too much about Aormatons, because this has been kind of a long process creating these characters and stuff. So we were privy to, like, learning about what Aormatons are and how they're different from Warforged, and we got to throw that to Caroline. She went and took some of that and built more of her character because it rooted her even more firmly in Exandria. So I think part of it is just we got lucky with some cool choices. Like the tiefling element of Hira was I think sort of just a choice because Bronze was more interested in playing a tiefling from Marquette and the implications of that, and like there's a lot of really cool backstory that we are not going to get too deeply into today because it's stuff that might come up a little later down the road. But there's so much all the players gave that is going to come back big later on.
And when we talk about Frog, I mean the Aor stuff is obviously a huge piece of Frog's origins that she doesn't know or understand, and we are definitely exploring all of that as we move forward, because it's such a rich mind that that Aor has so much going on, and kind of we have big plans, Aor-based plans for Frog.
Our one little Aorian Easter egg was at the end of episode 3, within the walls of the ice of Rhymefang's Cavern, we find Aorian earpieces, little communication devices, which could have gotten there from Aor's fall, or it could have gotten there from a treasure hunter who dropped it somewhere. Like there's lots to discover, I think.
Yes. There will be plenty of opportunities for Frog to kind of slowly piece together who she is and what happened to her in the past, because she doesn't remember any of it, so it's very exciting.
And it really leans in again into that world and that lore of Exandria, because the Exandria that we know is really kind of post-apocalyptic in a lot of ways, because if you think about it, before the Calamity, we had the Age of Arcanum, and that was a world in which there were flying cities, and there was magic could do everything. We saw it with EXU Calamity, where it was the height of
The highest of fantasy.
Yes.
High magic fantasy.
Yes,
Yeah.
and there was all of this brilliance, at least for the select few who were able to reach these heights.
Yep.
We have to remember that places like Avalier and Aeor was not everyone on Exandria.
No,
Yep.
But everyone was still seeing these things and knew what was possible. And then all of that was taken away. And so now with characters like Frog and FCG and Frida, we do see the more of the remnants of that, and it's coming back to life, and it's eking back in to Exandria. And I love that we get to explore it here as well.
Yeah.
From like a reverse engineering
Yes.
perspective,
Yeah.
we get
Yes.
to see the products of that society rather than the creation linearly of that society, which is cool.
So exciting to have it be, have there be an age where, some like a creature like Frog would be so normal, and then have every single person who meets Frog in Reslayer's Take have to roll an investigation check
Yes.
or
To see what's going on.
see what's going on, or be very freaked out. Because
Every time
it's
y'all say
fun.
that she's in armor, I just think of Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes, right. Well,
So do we.
got him. I'll be honest. Major inspiration for the sound design of Frog's voice is inspired by Full Metal
Alphonse,
Alchemist,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
trying to aim for that like tinny voice that is present yet somehow hollow.
I love it. We
Uh,
did that with FCG as well in the crit recap animated that we did that introduced Bell's Hells. It was a lot of fun.
Very
So
cool.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a consistent thing with our Aormatons. So I would imagine that it could change depending on.
Oh well, there's so much
which-
variety in
Yes,
how they look.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's for me the most exciting thing about like Frog in the context of FCG and Christian Navarro's
Frida?
Frida.
Like there's just so much variety that when you look at them, it's a pretty small swath of Aormatons, but they're all so different and clearly serve such a different function in the old society. And it's really exciting to kind of explore like what they were and what they meant to the world.
Their vast design differences mean.
Yeah.
And it's the same as with people. We all are. We
course.
all look different and come in different styles.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So it makes the Aormatons in that way even more human.
Even more human. Exactly right. It makes them even more like rooted as like an absolutely. I hope. Personally, just because I love the aesthetic of Aormatons, I hope there's a mass awakening at some point because I want to see all the different Aormatons and I want to know what all their. We have lots of things to explore in regards to like where Frog came from.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is informed by all of this incredible lore that gets established in things like Bell's Hells with FCG and seeing Frida. And, Nick and I are always, like, listening to new developments to see, like, what little kernels we can steal and, steal, you know what I mean, use
Yes.
to flesh out Frog in a more concrete Exandrian way, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Living document, living organism.
I
love
know.
it.
Oh, so we're up through episode 9 right now. Are there any big moments that are sticking out to you as like fun favorite moments coming up?
Well,
Or-
everything that Christian just did.
Oh God!
I
What a
love.
genius.
Speaking of Frida and Christian, I love that Christian was able to come in and play Deuteronomus or Duty.
Duty.
Duty. What's weird about Duty?
No one understands.
Yeah.
It was everything that he did was fantastic. I love that that you guys have been able to weave in guest stars from both the cast and newcomers, and then also people who have shown up in different properties as well. Like Dominic was also part of Legend of Vox Machina.
Yes.
And then Christian has also appeared on Critical Role or the main show.
Campaign 3.
And then we've also had Laura as Time the Pig.
Yes.
And
My.
Cutest character.
Can we
ever.
talk about Time the Pig?
we can talk about Time the Pig always.
That was a full Christian improvisation where he just had a pet pig that
Yep.
he like. And I think he mentioned the pet pig, and I snuck around the table and said, "Is it just a pet pig, or is it an awakened pig?" And he just goes, "Awakened."
Obviously,
And
awakened
so
pig.
all of a sudden, Nick and I are looking at each other like, we have a pig voice that is about to make a debut.
Yep.
And Laura nails the tone of that pig. I think Time became one of my favorite characters in the entire thing.
I love her.
Yeah.
Also, in such a great gift for the players, because I think time really specifically opens Hera up in a way that we haven't seen. Like, she's such a kind of like hardened, cool rogue up until that point, and like so emotionless, and then time really like unlocks this like part for
reveals her soft spot for animals.
Yes.
Yeah.
She loves kids and animals.
Yes.
I love that about her, because we also saw oh gosh, I've forgotten her name. It begins with a D.
Delphine.
Delphine.
Yeah, Delphine.
I was like, Denosha? Nope, that's X-Men 97 in my brain.
Well, we do have a Delphine and a Delmy, which is a little bit confusing, but Delphine is the kid from Joskrin's Hollow, and also shows up in Hera's vision in episode 8 because she becomes emotionally connected to her in Joskrin's Hollow. So that's, again, another thing that we took from the very brilliant Bronze. You know, she created that connection, and we were like, that was really meaningful. Let's take that and use that later as a...
Speaking of, if I can just shout out Bronze real fast.
Please.
Jasmine Bhullar, she wrote this absolutely incredible journal for the Quests and Whiskey that we partnered with.
Yeah, it looks incredible.
And that journal is incredible. Like, the whiskey, obviously fantastic, wonderful.
Yum.
Sandkeg's hide, great. But that journal that she wrote, the story that she wove for the backstory of this in lore whiskey, just incredible. I just adore her work.
She's amazing.
Very talented
When
writer.
she told us she was doing that, I was like, well, that's the perfect job for you, and I cannot wait to read this journal while drinking this whiskey.
But especially when we've talked in our conversation with Matt, we talk about trust between both co-GMs and players and GMs, etc. And like, Jasmine Bhullar is one of those people that we just trust implicitly because of her talent for A, storytelling, but B, her knowledge of this world, and the fact that she is always also coming at it from a very collaborative, world-building perspective as like a very experienced GM herself. Of just like always looking for little things to drop that add more dimension to Hera, and also link her to other of the PCs and NPCs, like time linking her to Deuteronomus in a way where those characters might not really jive.
Yes.
Yeah, and her kind of like friendship with Farah and their kind of like above it all experience. Like, the like, you know, old guard of the team in this very fun way, and it really. We're very lucky all of our players are collaborative in that way, and we can really trust them all to make these incredible choices. But Bronze really has, especially with that Marquette, like grounding in Marquette really brings an extra element, which is really incredible.
It's that's the thing, is I know I've already talked about this, but it is truly my favorite thing, is that in order to create really in-depth lore, it has to be in concert with your players.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have to have that level of trust that you will extend a hand and they will take it. Yeah. And that they will then extend a hand to someone else and that they will take it. And because that is how it all grows, and you can have those pieces of thread connect to each other throughout the entire tapestry. It's just I've had just such a joy watching and listening to you guys to you guys create, all of you.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
so sweet of you, Dani. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think that's our show, guys. Thank y'all very much for listening. Make sure you tune in next week. We've got a brand new episode of Rear Slayer's Take coming up. The brilliant Lore Keeper Dani Carr, everybody.
Thank you so much, Dani,
Thank you
for
guys
being
for
here.
having me. This was so fun.
This is so fun. I mean, I could literally sit here for 6 more hours and talk about every single
Can
thing.
I add one more thing?
Please.
Tell me your favorite Easter eggs that you were able to bring in.
Okay.
At least through episode 9. I just want to know what your favorite stuff is. Mine was Rhyme Fang, just because I like freaked out the moment that I heard it.
Such a fun one. I think my personal favorite moment was, or my favorite Easter egg rather, I really love how the Magnificent Mansion functions.
Yes.
Because in less of an Exandrian Easter egg, but more of like a Dungeons and Dragons rule perspective. We really used like the possession of Deuteronomus to mess with the Magnificent Mansion to
turned it
create
into a
that
haunted
nightmare trial. We
house.
turned it into a haunted house.
So fun.
So a really fun thing that we got to do was just basically add a very genre-specific haunted house to a ghost story by using Dungeons and Dragons rules, which, at the moment, Exandria is like fully beholden to the laws of magic. So that's a really fun one. Rhyme Fang is also a big favorite of mine. I really love the Rhyme Fang one. All right, folks, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
The Reslayer's Take is a Metapigeon production in partnership with and distributed by Critical Role Productions, developed in association with Hero Club.